welcome to my channel. I'm Maeve here with another longer than usual video, which once again is late, but I am determined to get caught up this week. I just need to get back to my regular length of videos. Anyway, today's video is another collab, this time with Winter Wolf, who I met on Instagram, and she's super cool. So go check out her channel when you finish watching this video. It's 31 Winter Wolf 31, no spaces. I'll also be linking to her video in the comments, as well as her link tree, which I've never heard of Linktree before I talked to her, but basically it's like one place you can go to find all the links to her, like YouTube, Instagram, TikTok, Twitter, and even her Sims 4 gallery profile. So it kind of functions like a modern day business card. Anyway, Winter Wolf built an abandoned Tudor home for me to renovate, and she posted her speed build earlier today. But in my video, we're going to do a cinematic fly-through of her original build with some background music, and then we'll do the speed renovation with voiceover, followed by a second fly-through of the renovated build. So let's get started. So this is the family Winter Wolf made to go with this build. They're appropriately named the Tudor family, and we're not making any changes to them or anything, but this family is basically like the client we're doing the renovation for. So it's a husband and wife, Quentin and Haley, and their teenage daughter Coraline, and a white cat named Obsidian. And they're all moving to Windenburg from San Myshuno, so it says here they're looking to mesh their city living style with this Tudor era architecture, and they are also looking to make a couple of additions to this home because Haley is in the art critic career and she really wants an office so she can have some privacy when working from home, and Quentin is into gardening, so he wants a nice place to practice that hobby, and the description says he would prefer a greenhouse if possible. And then it also says Coraline spends most of her time in her room making or listening to music and playing video games. Now, I always try to place any build I download from the gallery on the same lot where it was originally built, but this time that is a requirement for this challenge. And this lot was built on the Factory 1 lot in Windenburg, which as a default is where you'll usually find the party house household. Anyway, as for the build itself, this is a 2-bedroom house with 2 bathrooms and not a lot of yard space. And she gave this home the lot traits cursed, spooky, and creepy crawlies, and I went ahead and left it like that while I was building because even though I wasn't really playing this household, I do go into live mode to play test and to use the tool mod. Plus I do my cinematic fly-throughs in live mode, and I kind of hoped I might see a ghost or some creepy crawlies, but unfortunately this didn't happen. Anyway, so the first thing I did after placing this build was go around the exterior and then the interior, deleting any items that I definitely wanted to get rid of. So any of the plants that looked dead in the summertime, all the trash and muddy footprints from what I can only guess was an incredibly large stray dog. We had mail overflowing the mailbox, and it looks like maybe some of the neighborhood kids liked to come use the fire pit and party at night because there were all kinds of cans and bottles and lighters and trash around that area. There were also a few of these kind of items inside the house too, and the door was propped wide open, so maybe there were some squatters in this house over the winter. There was also a lot of overgrowth, including on the interior. She really put a lot of detail into this build and included a bunch of debug items, which I always really appreciate that kind of attention to detail because it makes everything feel so much more real to me. And speaking of realistic, I did my best to keep my renovations realistic, which means I didn't want to make any huge changes to the layout, like knocking down a couple walls or adding a room is one thing, but in real life you can't just drag walls around, and it's generally really expensive to move certain things around like plumbing or electrical. So for instance, even though I replaced all the toilets, sinks, and bathtubs, I kept their placement the same as it was before. And I almost kept these exposed pipes, but then I figured maybe these pipes aren't really in use anymore. Like sometimes you get some of your plumbing redone and you just leave some of the old pipes where they already are and you route the new pipes around the old ones because that's cheaper than going through and removing all the old outdated plumbing. But I decided if this family is renovating a house that's in such bad repair and completely gutting it and repairing everything, then maybe they don't mind knocking down the drywall around these pipes so that they can remove them. But I left the breaker box where it was for the sake of realism. Also, I tried to salvage a few pieces of furniture that were already on the lot, so like the broken down furniture and the old mattresses and really anything made of a porous material like carpet, rugs, couches, all of that had to go. but a lot of the items on the front porch still looked like they were in pretty good shape. That one really colorful bench is actually from City Living, so it matches the family's style, and Coraline has the genius trait, so I thought she'd enjoy the chess table. And speaking of Coraline, I took that small desk from the second floor hallway and stuck that in her room because it was still in pretty good shape, and I figured she could use it to study. Let's see what else. I kept a couple of the plants that weren't dead, especially that big tree out back is really pretty and provides a lot of nice shade, and I left the swing set in because it looks kind of cute, and I believe in real life if you wanted to remove something like that, you'd probably have to take a sledgehammer to that stone flooring outside and dig it out because those swing set poles have to go pretty deep in the ground, and then after removing it you'd have to backfill all that soil and redo your patio, and that's a lot of money and work. So for something that doesn't look that out of place, and Coraline is still young, so maybe someday she'll have a kid of her own who might use that swing set, so I left it there. I also left most of the kitchen cabinets as they were, but I changed their swatch to one with a higher contrast, and I thought of that as like basically having the countertops professionally redone and sanding the wood down or repainting it and changing out all the knobs and handles. And I did replace a couple of the cabinets above the stove with some of the smaller ones because I wanted to put a window in there. I also wanted to replace the vent hood above the stove, but I just couldn't get any of the available ones to look right. Actually, even the one that came with the house was clipping through the wall and was visible on the outside of the house. So there's no vent hood in the kitchen, but I did hide a smoke detector behind the cabinet. I wanted to keep that bookcase that was in the living room, but in the end it just didn't work with their style, and I couldn't picture them keeping any antique books, so I went ahead and sold it. I also held off on selling any of the art on the walls because for most of this renovation I was trying to stick to a budget, but that fell through towards the end because I realized that every time I would go into live mode to use Tool or to playtest my furniture placement, most of the items immediately depreciated in value, which means when I would then decide to delete an object, I would get back less money than what I paid for it. And then I thought, no big deal. The value of the finished home should be equal to the value it had when I first placed it, plus the 26K the family started with, right? But then I realized that also doesn't work because the home value is calculated based on that depreciated value of those items, not the value I bought them for. So then I messaged Winter Wolf, like, what do I do? And she was like, oh, there's no budget. Spend as much as you want. I know you love clutter. And it's great that she said that because then I added a bunch of CC free gallery art. And by the way, I used art from so many different gallery creators, and I'll be linking to all of them in the description below. But yeah, the gallery art does the opposite of what most of the in-game items do. So as soon as you place gallery art on the lot and then go into live mode, it increases in value very quickly. And this caused my household funds to shoot upwards of 250,000 simoleons. So I guess you can't use gallery art for a renovation if you're trying to stick to a budget. Anyway, I know we're way past this point in the video, but the first thing I did after deleting all those unwanted items was to add the greenhouse and office space. So the greenhouse is just a square room outside with a glass roof and a ton of glass windows and a big sliding door from Eco Lifestyle. And I wanted to use a smaller door, but I wanted it centered, and the length of that side of the room has an odd number of floor tiles, and there are no windows that take up a half tile. So that's why I went with this huge sliding door, but I think I made it work just fine. As for the office, I just put it in the only place where I thought it would make sense, right above the kitchen. There's enough empty wall space right there in the empty hallway if you move the desk that was there. And from the outside, it fits in with the rest of the build. And for the art critic career, you have to build up skills in writing and either music or comedy skill, as well as painting. So I gave her a desk with a nice computer, a guitar, and an easel. And when I was adding an office door, I was going to copy one of the other ones in the hallway, and then I realized how worn out they were, so I replaced all the doors in the house with some nicer ones, but I kept that dark color, even though I almost went with white. Now there are some windows in this house that are floor to ceiling windows, which Winter Wolf made by combining 4 smaller windows, and I noticed they were flickering a little bit where they overlap with each other, but if you don't overlap them, then they're too tall to fit the walls. So I decided for storyline purposes, those windows were just really old, or maybe not that well made, and so all the windows of that style had to be replaced. But they were lucky enough that they were able to find new windows that match another style of windows already present in this build. And this made perfect sense to me based on the neighborhood they live in. I mean, everyone in this neighborhood has those windows because they all have Tudor style homes. So why wouldn't contractors want to be able to match that style? I noticed while I was doing the initial fly-through of the build that the lighting and sound in the upstairs hallway indicated that it wasn't fully enclosed. That is, it was functioning as a covered outdoor space as opposed to an interior space. But I couldn't figure out why until I added the office, and then when I went in to fix the roofing around this addition, and noticed there was one floor tile missing underneath the original roofing. So I placed a floor piece right there before placing the new roof, and that fixed the lighting and sound in the hallway. I also placed an awning over the back door, which came from the cats and dogs pack. And in the dining room, I added the new table and chairs set from Hey Harry. I love the versatility of these new items, and I know they're trending right now, and I really love how EA has decided to collaborate with these amazing modders to bring their items into the game. That's just really so cool. The upstairs bathroom was really tricky because it's only a 2x2 room, and she had clipped the bathtub into the wall, which makes the bathroom roundable, but I didn't want a tub that would be clipping like that, so I switched it out for a shower, and that way I was able to squeeze in all the necessities. And as you can see, I play tested it and everything was totally functional. For Coraline's room, I went with kind of eccentric purple theme, and I gave her a combination TV and bookshelf from Tiny Living Stuff Pack. Also a gaming console, a stereo, and a guitar, and I believe both the bed and the nightstand came from City Living. In the master bedroom, I was going to keep the bed that came with the place because it was only the mattress that was in bad shape, but I didn't really like the swatches it came with. It's very old-fashioned, and I just couldn't see Miss Art Critic Haley being into that, so I switched it out for a more modern design and gave them a dresser that I think is from City Living. For the living room, since it's a pretty large space, I knew I wanted to have a really big TV, and then I went with this beautiful couch from the Seasons pack, and based on that couch, I decided to go with a blue and orange sort of color scheme. I regret not putting anything on that wall with the TV, like some cabinets or something, but in order to line everything up the way I wanted it, I had to use Alt to place the TV instead of letting it snap to the grid. And cabinets are a pain in the ass to do that with because they want to snap to each other, but they also want to snap to the grid, and they also want to snap to the wall. And there are workarounds for this, but I've been on a time crunch lately and I just needed to get it done. But I probably could have put like an ottoman or something there. I also added this weird quirky coffee table which has an aquarium with fish inside. It doesn't function as an aquarium, like you can't stock it with fish or open it and take fish out of it, so I guess the fish are holographic or something. I was going to keep the fire pit that was outside, but then I saw that fancy looking modern table that has the flames that come out of the center, and I thought that would be more their style. The foyer was a difficult area for me because most of the walls in this room have doors and arches on them, and it's such a large space but not easy to make smaller smaller due to the way all the other rooms are around it. And because it's a bit of a traffic hub, I didn't want to place any large objects in the middle of the room that Sims would have to walk around. So I just put a little table in there and a rug and a robot vacuum, and that's where the mail collects, I guess. For the clutter and landscaping, I kept things fairly simple compared to my usual style. I was really starting to run out of time, but I wanted the place to look somewhat lived in. I also noticed during the upcoming fly-through I should have replaced the upstairs banister. It actually looks a bit worn out, but oh well, maybe it was historically significant or something, so they didn't want to replace it. I don't know. Anyway, finally I chose the new lot traits and I decided to go with fast internet, great soil, and sunny aspect. And I think that's all I have to say about this build, so let's get into our second flight through. Alright, so I hope you enjoyed this video. I know that my last few videos have been pretty long and I need to go back to making shorter ones for a while so I can get back on schedule. So it's going to be at least a few weeks before you see another build video from me. But I have other good stuff planned, so if you like what I'm doing on this channel, please subscribe, hit that like button, and leave me a comment. I love getting comments. It makes me so happy when I see that you're engaging with my content, and I especially want to know what kind of videos you'd like to see in the future. Also, don't forget, I'm on Facebook and Instagram, and I'm only like 6 page likes away from 100 on my Facebook page, and once I get to 100 I can unlock their analytics, which would be really helpful to me. So if you haven't already, find me on Facebook. It's Maevelous. It's spelled exactly the way it is here on my channel. And I always link to my Facebook and Instagram in the description below every video, as well as the About section of my YouTube profile. Don't forget to check out Winter Wolf as well. Go watch her speed build, check out her link tree, and to her, I just want to say thank you so much for doing this collab with me. I had a blast renovating the home you built. I really hope you like what I did with it, and also thank you all for watching and for spending your time here with me. It is time for me to go, but you'll hear from me again next week, and in the meantime, please remember to be kind to yourself, be kind to others. Always remember to stay hydrated, and I will see you next time.